events management before I had 3 children, not at the same time, I'm my dad, and embarked on a whole different thing, following my husband around the world. We've done sort of, 3 intercontinental moves in the last 5 years, with kids, getting them into schools. I'm telling you all of this to tell you that I have taken, when Nicola phoned me and asked me to come and talk tonight, I wasn't at all surprised. I thought, of course she's going to ask me. I'm like part of the furniture. I have been doing this for 5 years. It doesn't take other people that long, but it's taken me that long. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it really has fitted into my life. And other thing I want to add at the beginning before I forget, and I know this is going to sound strange, don't be put off when you see the work, when they say this is the open learning students' work. You're going to look at it and think, I just can never do that. You can. It's astonishing what you can do. And I'm a girl who didn't sketch before, didn't do any of that thing. And sometimes I look at my stuff and I'm really proud of myself and what I've learned, So I moved over here with my husband he had a full-time job and was studying full-time. And what happened was I didn't have many friends, obviously, because I was new here. And I spent hours and hours with my children exploring the galleries and the streets and parks and museums of London, and I just fell deeply in love with this sort of pulchritude of London and these amazing buildings and the sense of history. So what I decided to do was, the children got slightly bigger, went off to school, and I decided I wanted to retrain. What was I going to do? And I thought, what can I do? And I sort of made a list for myself of what I wanted, and I thought something project-based. That suits me. I don't want to go to an office every single day and do the same thing. That would bore me stupid. So I thought something project-based, something that indulges my kind of love of form and art and color. And also, I quite like the sort of cut and thrust of problem solving. I didn't just want to sit and do scrapbooking at home. Not that there's anything wrong with doing scrapbooking at home, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And at the same time as I was sort of having this process in my head, life sometimes throws serendipitous things at you, and it did for me. A friend of mine and her husband had a relatively amicable divorce, and he moved into a beautiful apartment, and he found himself in this apartment sort of surrounded by the flotsam and jetsam of his marital home. Sofas that had come from the home. They'd obviously sold this big house and moved. It didn't fit into the apartment. It served as a reminder of, he was sad. The girls would come round, didn't like being in the house, but she said to me, he works all long hours God gives, will you go and help him? I said, of course I will. And I went in and sat down and spoke to him. What did he want in this flat? And we changed it. And I would do a much better job now, but he was happy with what I'd done. He was happy with what I'd done. And for me, that really sort of solidified something in my head. I love, it showed me how passionate I am about people's spaces, whether it's a workspace. I think I've only been doing small residential projects, so I can only speak from that experience, but it must be the same thing with commercial, where somebody feels, in a commercial setting, inspired and enthusiastic, and within their home, that they feel protected and nourished, and they close the door and all is well. They're in this little bubble of loveliness. I love to give that to people. I think it's fabulous. I think that's what your home should be. So I looked around, decided where I was going to do this course. Then now I decided to do interior design, and I looked across the board, and KLC was a hands down winner for me. What I liked was that there are, as you've heard, there's the open learning, there's the blended, there's everything else. So there's something for whatever's going to fit in with your life. I chose the distance learning, and they've been amazing. They have, I've done a couple of the short courses that Nicola mentioned, things like technical drawing, which, terrified the hell out of me because I hadn't done it. It's not difficult, but I felt comfortable coming in for a week, sitting, learning how to use the board properly. It really worked for me, However, I've known other people who've done the course who haven't done that, just not a problem at all. And they've managed to do it perfectly on their own. The other thing I wanted to say, and I hope this isn't boring going into a bit of detail, but it's to indicate how supportive the team actually are. We then moved to Dubai. Halfway through, we then moved to Dubai, got everyone there, settled them into schools, sat down, decided I was going to do my next project. opened my book, which was a project, by the way, and this will happen to you too, which I was dreading. It was construction, and I thought, I have to just get through this. It's going to be ghastly. So one project I didn't want to do, I actually loved it. It was fascinating. So you'll find that a lot, that things you think are going to be dreadful and a bit boring actually aren't. So I started doing this, and I realized pretty soon that there were parts of the brief that were going to be difficult for me to meet. Like we had to do, central heating and the sewage system, how it worked, and of course we had the septic tank, and we had no central heating because it's sort of 50 degrees, so that wasn't going to, and I thought, am I going to go online, am I going to try and research, Victorian houses and I remember phoning the team and just saying, this is where I find myself, however, can I do my central, my cooling system, can I do my aircon, and how that works and how it's linked between the rooms, absolutely fine. Obviously, you still have soil pipes and things like that, which you need, but the rest of the system was different. Is it okay if I do my septic tank? Down to the fact that we had, a truck that came once a month and pumped the septic tank out. And that had to go into my project too, because it was how it worked there. And they were fantastic. So the reason I'm telling you this is, you really, when they say it's this kind of a correspondence course and you can do it from anywhere, you really can. They're fab. The other thing is, I remember doing a project, we had a color matching project, and I had a really foul fabric sample, and I have to say this is not going in my portfolio ever, but it was okay. It was a pretty grotty piece of fabric with a couple of colors on it, and it worked for the project. So I phoned the team again, and I just said, listen, this is hideous, but I managed to fulfill the brief. You know what I mean? And they were very supportive of that, and I really appreciated that. I've told you that there were things that surprised me about the course and what I've loved. The drawing and stuff really does come. I don't know how many of you do draw, but for those who don't, it does come. I still wouldn't say, I wouldn't like to stand here and draw you. I couldn't stand here and draw you a masterpiece, but I can definitely illustrate what I want to. I can actually show people what I'm trying to do. And they go, oh, okay, that's fabulous. That's really exciting to be at that point. To finish, to conclude, I'd like to say that it's all good, but it's not. And I've had a couple of problems. The one thing is, in the course of doing my History of Styles project, which I have been passionate about and done far too much work on, but I have fallen deeply in love with Charles Rennie Mackintosh, and I'm having a torrid affair with him, and that's just never going to end well. And the other thing is, it kind of spoils things like I watched The White Queen, and I got through the first episode and I found myself getting really sniffy and going, Georgian windows, what's that? And just literally couldn't watch it anymore. So, if that's the worst thing that's going to happen to you, it's not bad. I've got my construction book next door for you to see what I mean about the, the different parts and stuff, and if anyone wants to ask questions or whatever afterwards at the end, then we'll do that. I don't think you'll be sorry if you do this. Thank you.